Hello and welcome to this video. Now, first of all, a big congratulations and a balloon for you if you've just gone and got yourself into QuickBooks Online. Take it from me, I have thousands of people involved with who are using QuickBooks Online for their business, and it's the right thing for them. So a lot of people using QuickBooks Online, so that hopefully means that it's also the right solution for you. Hopefully you've got the right advice to make sure that whatever solution you're using is right for your business. I deal with a lot of clients, and one of the first things I always make sure is whatever their business is, we make sure we find the right solution for their business. So hopefully you've got the right solution. Either way, you must be interested in QuickBooks Online for one reason or another. Now, remember there's two versions of QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Self-Employed. If you're using QuickBooks Online, then stay tuned, we've got 5 things for you that's going to make sure that you get the most out of QuickBooks Online. If you're using QuickBooks Self-Employed or haven't yet tried QuickBooks Online, then this particular video may not be exactly for you, but still stay around. Why? Well, first of all, I can give you access so you can trial QuickBooks Online and see how you feel about it. Look in my description below, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and then you'll see there is an opportunity for you to go in and go to the trial version of QuickBooks. That trial version of QuickBooks Online will give you the opportunity to see if QuickBooks Online is right for your business. Also, if you are using QuickBooks Self-Employed, make sure you go subscribe to the channel and look for the playlist that's dedicated to QuickBooks Self-Employed. I promise you, you'll find there's a lot of content there that's going to be useful for you, and also there's a video that explains the difference between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Self-Employed. So you may find that this QuickBooks Online is even better suited for your business. And if that's the case, then don't worry about it, because I give you the opportunity to even get a discounted version of QuickBooks Online using the same link shown below. So, QuickBooks Online users, 5 tips on how to start out on QuickBooks Online to make sure that you're getting the best at it for your business. Stay tuned.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me.
Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, certified UK trainer from Intuit QuickBooks. See my fancy logo? A head of accounts at Boffix, and also that QuickBooks chap on the internet. So you're here for 5 reasons as to how to get started on QuickBooks Online. Now I'm going to be completely transparent with you on this. This video is about being snappy, sharp and to the point. But if you need any help with any of the things we covered today, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. That way, you're going to have an opportunity to have a look at all the other content. Everything I do today, I've already done in some form or another already on this channel. And I'm going to be making sure we do more stuff like this going forward. So a subscribe helps out the channel, helps out the algorithm, everything else that goes with it, but also means that you'll be in the right place to make sure that you're getting the most out of QuickBooks Online. Because that's what this is all about. You've chosen to use QuickBooks Online, you need to make sure you're getting the most out of it. So join me for 5 tips on how to get started on QuickBooks Online, and let's get straight in with tip number 1. Let's have a look. So for everyone new to this channel, this is how we do things here. First of all, I'm going to put my face in the bottom left hand corner. Then we're going to bring up QuickBooks Online. Now let's talk about what's in front of us. Very much important for you to know is this is what we call our dashboard. And one thing I need you all to understand is how important this screen is. This screen here is your dashboard for your business. Without you even asking for it, this is going to give you information about how your business is doing, how the cash flow is going, what your profit and loss is, what your expenses are broken down into, your invoices, your sales trajectory, and most important than anything is all your bank and cash accounts over here. Get to understand this page here. We're going to do a whole video on the dashboard and why it's so important. So stay tuned for that one, but always make sure you refer back to it. This is you understanding how your business is doing. And when you put something into QuickBooks, when you make a transaction within QuickBooks, refer back to the dashboard to see how that's affected. Tip number 1 on how to get started on QuickBooks Online, importantly, is all about income, making sure that you record your income properly. So I'm going to use this new button on the top left hand corner. I'm going to go straight to an invoice to begin with. Now the great thing about QuickBooks is it's not going to hold your hand. It's going to tell you what information you need to be able to be compliant in recording your income. Let's have a look. So the first thing it's going to ask me is my customer. I go in and I find Admin Co. It's going to, because I've used this customer before, it automatically knows what my customer email is. And that's so that within QuickBooks I can send it directly from here. I need to ensure my date's correct. And I need to figure out using this activity table here what it is I'm selling. If I drop down this list here, these are what I've already got set. Now I can set new ones within QuickBooks, but let's just use the ones that come as default for now, like sales. From here, I need to say what quantity, if it's a quantity of things, and that could even be not just items, but time. And then I can put a rate in. Now on mine, I've got VAT turned on, so it's asking me for VAT. At this point, I need to choose what VAT code I'm happy. At this point, I need to say what VAT code I'm going to be selling this at. So in my case, I'm selling it at 20% VAT, so it's VAT with an S on the end. I then have the opportunity up here to choose if it's exclusive, so add in the VAT on, or inclusive, it's going to include the VAT in with it. If you don't have VAT on at all, you'll see something very similar to this. No VAT, and it won't even ask you here what your VAT code is going to be. So I'm adding 20% VAT on. Again, QuickBooks is holding my hands here by doing all of this calculation for me. It's timesing the quantity by the rate and adding on the VAT. So in my case, I've got £500 with £100 of VAT, giving me £600 in total. My transaction now is worth £600. Where do I find that? Top right hand corner, £600. That number up there is always going to be the number that's going to understand for you what your transaction value is. And in this case, £600. Now I don't just finish here, I need to save this transaction. Bottom of the corner over here, there's some options. I can save the transaction. If I do that though, notice I'm still in the transaction. It may have saved, but now if I change anything here, it's going to update that transaction accordingly. Or next to it, I have save and close with a drop down arrow, give me even more options. Save and close saves it, closes it down, takes me where I was before, in my case the dashboard. Save and new saves it, give me a new invoice to use. Save and send saves it, uses the email up here and actually sends it to the customer. For this one, I'm going to do save and close. I want to go back to that dashboard and record that first £600. Now, this is where you've got to start understanding terminology within QuickBooks. What we've just done then is shown you how to do a sales invoice. What is a sales invoice? Sales invoice is you raising a sales invoice to tell someone that they need to pay you. So in our case, we've done £500 worth of work, we've added on some VAT and we're requesting our client to pay us £600. That's an invoice. You're going to send that to a client or customer, they're then going to pay you that money. Now QuickBooks has fancy ways to help you get paid using either go cardless for a direct debit solution or a big pay now button to actually let your customer or client pay straight away. But what about if you've already received the money? Well, that's where the terminology really becomes important. An invoice is when you want your customer or client to pay you for something that's going to happen. A sales receipt is something you've already received the money for. So let's have a look at the difference. We sent an invoice over. Press new, there's your invoice. I would then need to say receive payment when I've actually received it, or when we come to look at it, we can interact it from the bank account when we've actually had the money come in. But if I have already received the money, I would use sales receipt. Notice the sales receipt though, looks exactly the same aesthetically to that invoice. So I'm going to have to put my customer, my date, my product and service in, my VAT if I'm VAT registered, and I could have all the same figures. The key difference though is this element here, deposit to. Where have I received that money into? Is it into my business bank? Is it my cash on hand? Where does that money come into? When you do a sales receipt, you must take into account this box here, making sure that you put it to the right place. Sales invoice. I'm going to request a client or customer to pay me. Sales receipt. I've already received the money. I'm going to say where that money has gone into. Make sure you understand the difference between the two. For a more detailed breakdown of this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, look through the videos, and you'll see there's a whole video dedicated to invoices versus receipts. Tip number 2, we've dealt with income. Let's deal with expenses. Or we've dealt with money in, let's deal with money out. Let's see how to record transactions when you're actually paid for something. Let's have a look. To make things nice and easy, I'm going to use that same new button in the top left hand corner. From there, I'm going to look at my supplier section. And there I have two options, expense and bill. Let's deal with the bill first. Now aesthetically this looks very similar to that invoice we just did, and that's done on purpose. This is so we understand what we're actually asking for. So first of all, we need the supplier. Now the key difference between money in and money out is money in is you're creating that transaction. You've done some work or you've sold a product or whatever it is going to be. You're manufacturing an invoice or sales receipt based on what that person needs to pay you for the work that you've done or whatever product you've sold. When we look at the other way around for money out, we need to base it on something. And it's basing on you having to pay for a service, pay for a product, pay for something in particular. For you to be able to do that, you're going to need some documentation on that. Here, I have a nice little invoice I need to put onto QuickBooks. I've paid this invoice, so therefore I need to show QuickBooks how, what, why, everything else I need to do about this actual invoice. Let's have a look how we deal with it. So first thing is I need to choose the supplier which relates to this invoice. I'm going to go and put Virgin Media in. Then I need to choose the date. Well, that's going to be quite straightforward, isn't it? Because then I need to choose the date. Well, I read the invoice and find the date accordingly. On this one, 20th of April. I can then put a bill number. Well, the invoice has a bill on here for me. So here it is, bill number 726076001. The key difference here, though, is I now need to choose what it is I've bought. Well, I can use this list here to try and find it. Well, here's a kind of telephone bill. Oh, excellent. So if I start typing the word telephone in, I get the option for telephone. Description. Well, I might as well explain what it is that I bought. So in this case, it was my first invoice for a new line. How much did they charge me? £4. Absolute bargain. And the VAT on that was 20%. Now I get my bill. I make sure that I've got £4 here, which I have. 80p is what's been calculated as my VAT per my bill. £4.80 in total. They all line up. Now what I'm going to do extra is I'm going to take a copy of this. I'm going to attach it down here at the bottom. Then if anyone asks me where I got this 80p, this £4, this telephone or this date, I have a copy of the invoice just here and I can bring that into QuickBooks nice and easily. And just like on Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. There's a copy of that bill posted directly into QuickBooks Online. Okay, we said no at the very beginning of putting in this transaction, but we chose bill or expense. What's the difference? Just like when we talked about invoice versus sales receipt, a bill and an expense is a similar sort of concept. A bill is something that you are going to put onto QuickBooks but pay for at a later date. An expense is something you've already paid for. So, my phone bill. They send me my invoice, but they don't take the money out of my account for a couple of days later. So I put my invoice on straight away if I want to, so that I can then keep track of cash flow and things like that. And then when I make the payment, I pay it against that particular invoice, so I'm not double counting. On the flip side, if I went to the post office and went in to buy some stamps, they're not going to let me leave that post office until I actually pay for them. So that was what I would class an expense. Whereas the first option, paying for my phone bill, I would class that as a bill. Let's have a look. So an expense, exactly the same aesthetically of what we've just done, but you must take into account the payment account up here. That payment account is so important. That's where the money has left. That's where you're saying the money has gone from QuickBooks Online. So when you're recording expenses in QuickBooks, two things to be worried about. First one, what's the date of the transaction? Really critical to make sure you get that right. The second one is going to be what the category for that transaction is going to be. So you need to make sure that you line up what it is you've paid for against what category it is. Pro tip, the most important person to ever understand what that category is going to be is yourself. When you're doing a set of bookkeeping for your business, make sure that you understand what those categories are. If that makes more work for someone else later down the line, then so be it. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're understanding what's going on in your business. So if you need to understand the difference between telephone and mobile, or even text messages versus 3G or 4G or 5G, then have those different categories split accordingly. At the end of the day, you reading the information, you understanding how your business is doing, where you may be wasting money, where you've got a chance to grow, them sort of criteria, them sort of opportunities is what this is all about. So do yourself a favour and make sure you have your hand on those categories. If you need to make some new categories, don't forget to have a look at some of the videos I've already done, which shows you exactly how to create new categories within QuickBooks Online. Let's move swiftly on to number 3. So number 3, we've talked about bringing money in, we've talked about taking money out. Now let's do one of the best features within QuickBooks at all, and that's the banking section. Now the banking section is so important. As you can see on my screen here, I have multiple bank accounts connected. I'm also being given a lot of information, like there might be errors here, or there's issues here, or whatever it's going to be. But the most important thing to do at the very beginning is use this button at the top here to link account. And from link account, you can then go in and choose the bank of your choice. Doesn't matter what bank you choose, it's going to then take you step by step on how to connect that bank straight into QuickBooks Online. Once you've connected, you'll get these bank cards just like here for each bank that you've connected. And there's two things you really need to take an account of. First of all, keep an eye out for messages like this. Here it's telling me this connection's expired, so I need to use this reconnect button to reconnect my account. Don't let your bank account expire. QuickBooks is only going to be as good as the data you put in there. So if you've not got data flowing through nicely, get that fixed straight away. The other thing to note is this here, for review, categorized and excluded. For review are transactions that QuickBooks has now seen, so we've seen all of these transactions come through, but you've not yet done anything with them. So if I run a report, these transactions won't be included. Categorized are transactions that you've actually already dealt with and put into QuickBooks in some way or another. Whereas excluded are transactions you don't want included. So what do those three areas actually mean? And this is fundamental to QuickBooks. When you connect a bank account, the first thing it's going to do is put all those transactions in for review. For review is designed to be an area where it's learned about a transaction but not yet dealt with that transaction. And the reason for that is that transaction may already be in QuickBooks. If that transaction is already in QuickBooks, like for example that Virgin Media transaction we just did, then at that point all you would do is you would match it and it will come up and it will say, I found this transaction, is that correct? Let's have a look what that looks like. So I'm in my full review section, I've got 3 transactions. The first one I've got though is the one I want to look at is this Virgin Media transaction for £4.80. If you remember, that was that bill we put in there. Well, QuickBooks has found that. One record found, a bill, 2nd of the 4th, relates to the 20th of the 4th, £4.80. It's given me the option to match that transaction. And when I match that transaction, all I'm doing is saying that I told you I was going to have an expense. Here's that expense. Please match it accordingly. So I press match. That bill we created has now been said as paid, and that transaction has now been recorded successfully into QuickBooks. So that's matching. That transaction was already in QuickBooks, so I'm matching against that original transaction. And that's great. For anything you've already told QuickBooks about, it'll match against it already there, so it's not double counting it. But what about those transactions you haven't told QuickBooks about? That's when you want to use the feature called Add. Let's have a look at that one. I've got 2 transactions here. I've got Staples and Tesco Fuel, both on the same date. I know how much it's worth, £29.85, £61.30. But when I click into the transaction, I expand and ask me what information it already knows. And it's asking me now for additional information. You'll notice that this information is the same as if you add an expense. You see, when you add a transaction in QuickBooks Online, you're not just adding this crazy transaction you've never come across before, you're adding an expense. So when you add an expense, you add the transaction or you need the information to create that expense and accordingly. So for you to add an expense, you're going to need to have more information, and that's what this page is asking you for. So in here, I'm going to choose an expense. Well, Staples sounds like stationery to me, and you have to choose a VAT code. If I don't, I'll get an error message. If you're not VAT registered, you'll get away with it. Everything else is just extra information I don't need at this point, so I can press add. And notice how the transaction now goes off this one and now is in the categorized area for me. Same with Tesco Fuel. It's now asking me. Now the key thing, I'm going to put this to travel. Notice how I don't leave that category as uncategorized expense. QuickBooks will try and learn that for you and try and give you suggestions. But the second that you press that add button down there, you're confirming that that category and that VAT number is correct. So always, before you press add, check your category you're happy with, check your VAT, press add. You're now adding transactions into QuickBooks Online. So if you add your bank account into QuickBooks Online, you're going to make it so much easier on yourself. You need to keep on top of that full review section, and I would recommend you keep going on it on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis to keep it on top of it on a regular basis. That way, the more information you're telling QuickBooks, the more it can learn, it can start understanding cash flow forecasts, it can do a lot more for you. But you need to make sure that full review tab is always empty, because if you leave anything in full review, they won't be included on VAT returns, bank account transactions, reports, or anything like that. So always make sure that full review is completed. So always keep your full review section completed. That way you got that data flowing into QuickBooks. Now it's great that you're adding all these transactions to QuickBooks. How do you know you've got it right? Here's tip number 4. And tip number 4 is all about making sure you reconcile that bank. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's loads of places in QuickBooks you can reconcile the bank. But I prefer to use this set way of getting there. I use the go-to bank register here. That gives me a nice little breakdown of what's happened in the bank. So I can see a nice little what's gone in, what's gone out, what figures have gone there and everything else. I can see a running balance on my right hand side. In the top right hand corner I have a reconcile button. I'm going to use that. And that will take me to my reconcile page. Now, if you have any error messages here, don't ignore them. Always look at them. It's going to tell you exactly how to fix it just there. But if I choose a different bank account, and you can use this box to move to a different bank account, you're going to see a page looking like this. And on this page, what you need to do is get yourself a copy of your bank account. Why? Because you need to know what the balance is going to be. Say my balance as of today is 320. Say my balance of today is £3,523. I would need to include that in there, put the date, press start reconciling. From here, what's going to happen is it's going to find all the transactions and then it will give you a chance to go through and tick them. You'll need to make sure this box here is different to 0 by going through the bank statement if needed, finding each transaction as you go through. Once you've done that, you're going to get a nice big green tick saying, well done, you've reconciled your bank, which will look something very similar to this. Once you've got that green tick, you know that you've got put the right transactions into QuickBooks and the amount shown in QuickBooks for that bank account agrees to what's actually in your bank account as of the date that you've put in there. And that's crucial. That's going to give you confidence that the figures have been put in correctly, you've not missed anything, you've not reconciled it, or whatever it's going to be. Now again, we've flown through this really quickly. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Therefore, you're going to have the ability to be able to see a whole video dedicated to reconciling your bank and also, probably more crucially, what to do when something's not right. So make sure you subscribe and then get that content accordingly. Okay, tip number 5 and your final tip. Don't waste all this data you've put in there. Most of the time, you're going to be doing this for a tax return or a VAT return or some statutory reason why you're having to complete this information. But don't leave it just at that. Use QuickBooks to be able to give you value to your business. That's what it's all about. So let's have a look at a few reports and a few places where you can get information that's going to help you in your business. Let's have a look. First of all, this dashboard, as I've already said, is crucial. You're being told here so much information. How much overdue invoices you've got. You're being told what your sales trajectory is. You can see what your sales within the last 12 months are. If you're close to that VAT threshold, that's going to be a very important number to you. You can see what your bank accounts are looking like at the moment. If you're miles out, I've got 101k in my QuickBooks bank, but only £1,000 in my real bank. That to me looks like an issue. That looks to me like it's something I need to look at straight away. I also can see that it was only updated 154 days ago, so it's massively out of date. I need to rectify that ASAP. There's a whole cash flow forecast in QuickBooks itself. Don't let this data go to waste. This will predict for you the next few months to let you know how your business is doing, giving you indications if there's any problems. You can even add transactions down here, which will only affect the cash flow, and you can see what's going to happen if certain criteria or certain events happen in the future. Then there's the report center itself. There's so many reports in here. One of the reports I know that a lot of clients like is the business snapshot. It gives me a nice visual breakdown of how my business is doing, letting me know what's going on, what I should be looking out for, items like that. Who owes me, who I owe, things like that that's going to be crucial to my business. Also in the report section, one of the ones I absolutely swear by is profit and loss by month. And this is going to give you a good indication if you look back through, say, 365 days of information you might be missing. It's breaking down month by month what's happened in my business. For example, I've got my salary going here and then suddenly stops. I must find a way to be able to rectify that. It's telling me here I've got gross wages, again, stops at the same point. Something's not right. I need to fix that. It's showing me trends about my business and letting me know if there's something there that I need to look into. Better yet, any of these ones I don't quite understand if that's right or not, I click on the number, takes me to the transactions, and I can go all the way if I need to the transaction itself. Really, really easy. Also in the reports is a performance center. From here you can see all manner of information about how your business is doing. Again, really great to understand what's going on with your business. And don't forget the taxes section down here. If you're VAT registered, it's going to tell you what your next VAT number or VAT return is likely to be. So you can keep an eye on that and make sure you've got money accordingly. If you're self-employed, you can look at an estimate for what your next tax figure is going to be up there. Again, making sure that you've got that money set aside to deal with it accordingly. And there we have it. There's so much more to QuickBooks, obviously, but that is 5 ways and 5 tips to get the most out of QuickBooks if you're brand new to it. And it's really important you do. The more you get information in there, the more you'll see how that interacts with QuickBooks, the more you can see how it's improving your business and making your business work for you. I say this a lot on this channel. This whole point of you putting data into QuickBooks isn't for a statutory reason. It's not so you can file your VAT return. It's not so you can actually go and get your tax returns done or whatever it's going to be. It's so that you've got information about your business. Make sure that's your first priority. Then, having the ability to be able to file VAT returns and all that just becomes an added bonus, a cherry on the top. But if you're growing your business because of the information's there, which is what it's all about, then you're going to be in a better position all around. Again, I'd love to show you even more about this, but I already have done. This channel's all about it. This channel's about you, your business, and how it interacts with QuickBooks Online. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment below what else you would like to tell the rest of the community about what they should know about QuickBooks Online before they're starting it. Don't forget, I also have links below for not only a trial to QuickBooks Online, but also an opportunity for you to get discounts on it as well. Even if you're already paying for QuickBooks Online, use that discount for going forward. At the end of the day, who doesn't like to save money? My name's been Aaron Patrick. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this video for you. I have plenty more videos in the pipeline. They're all going to be for you. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will obviously see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. All the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah. You know I want him, nah, 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 nah. My heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah.
Hello and thank you for watching that video. What you may not know is this channel that you've watched this video from is part of a wider group. That wider group is called Apple Core Production. And the 3 channels that we have involved are as follows: Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chat, Boffick's Tax Tip. Finally, we have Apple Core Live and Geeky. All the links and everything are down below in the description, but it really means a lot to us if you can go and give a like to the other channels as well.